please.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ms. Firecase, please. Heavenly Father, we want to take this moment to pause and thank you for the blessings that are bestowed upon all those that are represented here. So, blessing as we move forward in the Christmas season, that we can remember the real meaning of this time of year, that we can be a blessing and a help to others that might be in need. We pray as always for the county, for the board, for the employees and such, that we can do the business and move forward and do what's right for the people that we serve each and every day. Yes, forgive us of our sins, our shortcomings, and pray that you'll watch over and care for us as we leave this place today. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Commissioner Pitts.
Yes.
Commissioner Toller.
Yes.
Commissioner Foster.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Here. Call the meeting to order, and I'll turn it over to county clerk for a reorganization of the board.
I'll take nominations for board chair.
I make the motion to keep Max Miller as board chair.
Second.
Commissioner Pitts.
Yes.
Commissioner Toller.
Yes.
Commissioner Foster.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Abstain. Continuing on, I'll make a motion to nominate Bobby Toller as vice chairman.
Commissioner Pitts.
Yes.
Commissioner Toller. Commissioner Foster.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you. I appreciate your both confidence. And I think it's been a good past year, and hopefully the next year will be even better. I look forward to it. I will say that, as Bobby can definitely attest to, it's a whole lot more work than I ever thought it was. Right?
Sorry.
All right.
It's fine.
Next on the agenda, public comments. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I missed a couple of meetings and we might have addressed this already, but, and Tiffany couldn't be here this morning when she's in court. But I want to acknowledge her and congratulate her on being nominated and elected to the Illinois Association of Clerks. I understand she was elected to that, and I'm sure Commissioner Toller can attest the fact that that way she can, be a voice for us, and I think it's a good idea. Anytime, we can have representatives on a big organization serves the whole state like that. And you may have addressed it on Facebook. I haven't been on the county Facebook for a while. Maybe you already addressed this, but I just wanted to address that.
Thank you. No, we hadn't. And I saw that, I think, on Facebook myself. And I agree totally. We can always use local representation in any organization, for sure. So I appreciate your comments. Anyone else?
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Shelley Cloverhill. I'm superintendent of Shawnee School District down in the Bottoms in Wolf Lake, and I just wanted to take a minute. I should have done this before now, and recognize Sheriff Carville and his department. They have been phenomenal for our school district for the past several years. When it comes to school safety, as we all implement more measures to keep all of us more safe, especially those of us that are out in the county, 10 plus miles away from here. I believe it was Officer Shiltnick told me it would be 12 minutes at 80 plus miles an hour, and that was if no traffic. So that is very concerning for us, especially those out in the outlier areas. But they have been instrumental, especially with the schools county safety grant that all 7 county schools got. For our school district, it was over $100,000, which is huge for a very small rural school. I won't get into specifics about the improvements because we don't want to broadcast, what we're doing. But, and even as recent as last week, I went to an FBI school safety seminar, immediately got on the phone with him on my way back, so there were improvements to make. and he is always 100% his officers and everybody at the department that ever answers the phone. And I know that the other 6 county schools get the same service and still keeping the rest of the county safe. I don't know how they do it, but I just wanted to make sure, I'm sure you guys are aware, but as an administrator, I know most of the time I hear the negative stuff, so I wanted to make sure that you hear the positive stuff. And even as recent as yesterday, when they implemented the alert system that everybody gets the phone calls, even as yesterday, we found a problem, and it was very minor but crucial in communication, because if we can't get the information out to the rest of our buildings, it doesn't matter if we have the best security system and cameras and metal detectors, if we can't get the word out. And so something as simple, but testing that drill yesterday was huge, and that was all because of, Sheriff Harwell and his efforts and his department. So just wanted to be here. I should have done it before now. I could never get here when you guys are here, and I apologize for not getting on the agenda because I was late with that too. But I just wanted to praise the department and let you know how lucky we are in this county, because I can tell you, going to other safety meetings, other superintendents can't say that they get the same support from their sheriff's departments, even in the bigger places. So just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you for your time.
I've discussed this with the sheriff many times, and especially your situation being that far away, as you say. Unfortunately, it's something that we have to be concerned about every day anymore, and I noticed this morning, coming over here, I mean, Anna Police at one of the schools, and I'm seeing that all over, and it's very much appreciated, and I know the parents definitely appreciate it. So thank you for your comments.
Well, parents of the teachers definitely appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm sure. Any other comments?
Actually, the county was awarded a grant recently last week. We received the full funding for a HAVA grant. It's for the county clerk's office for safety, for as the cybersecurity grant that we filled out. We were initially awarded $12,000. We sent in enough, thanks to Angie, has helped with me on that. We sent in an additional amount. We were awarded another $19,000 on top of that, so just over $30,000. We got a grant towards cybersecurity safety to be used for all kinds of things that we need to help protect our elections and everything coming up. So that was a grant where we got extra awarded to us, so another $30,000, and some of that stuff we definitely used and could use. So that it's actually still running through the end of May, so we might even chance to even get more if we put our heads together and figure out more stuff to turn in that will be covered. So we're still going to work on that too. So
Good deal. Good job. Committee reports.
At the 911 meeting, basically is pretty much a short meeting, but last year was a transition year going from Union County to Union Alexander County joint. And for the 9 months ending with the joint budget, we ended up with a budget surplus and turned out really well. So appreciate the work that Crystal did on and the budget committee, which grants on that, Steve Harlan. And they did a good job, very good job. I went to a Southern Tide meeting. They talked a little bit about the census, and they're going to submit a letter to the Department of Public Health about being able to do some of the work toward being able to reach some of the hard to reach population in the counties. And there was a meeting this last Thursday, and Angela went to that meeting, and there was a lot of information there, and she's going to be able to share more of that information on the census that's coming up with everybody in the future.
Anybody else? I don't have anything that I can think of at the moment, but I'm sure there'll be more coming. I know we're still working on, getting everything lined up for animal control and that project, so hopefully that'll be finished up shortly. Building permits, Kevin.
Just got two this morning. First was for Robert Iltis and Sharon Fletcher, is a pole barn, 0129000408. No floodplain or subdivision issues, it's recommended for approval. Next one is a satellite installation for Viasat Inc. No floodplain issues in a previously subdivided area, and it's recommended for approval. Numbers 043102788985.
I'll get them later. You make a good auctioneer.
While we're looking at those, you got any updates for us on anything going on?
Just grade roads, haul rock, bushwhacking, taking out the bridges.
So, how, where are we on the bridges now?
When we started the bridge project, we had 105 wood deck bridges. We have 34 currently. So we're making some progress.
I'm hearing a lot of good comments from people out in the county that are noticing the bridge deal. I mean, they really are appreciative of it.
They're definitely money eaters, and I hope it's gonna pay dividends for the county.
I'd say they would.
Their safety issues, and the sooner we can get rid of them, the better.
You went from what, a 5-year turnaround to 20?
Yes. Yeah,
Definitely, so.
the manufacturers of aluminumized culverts claim 25+ year life. We'll see. They are definitely a better product than the corrugated metal galvanized pipes. And we're not seeing any deterioration, so hopefully we get a good life cycle. Life cycle.
If it doesn't work, somebody else will have to worry about it.
I'll be around the lane, though. Was that guy, he left. It's his fault.
Any questions on the building permits? No. Get a motion, please.
Make a motion. Second.
Commissioner Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Toller?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Under old business, image trend software contract for the ambulance service, we're still tabling that, still working on that, correct?
That's correct.
Hopefully we'll get that off of here soon. Moving on to new business, approval of payment of bills, everybody get a chance to look at the bill list.
Yep.
Any questions, objections? Get a motion to pay our bills then? Make a motion to pay our bills.
I'll say.
Commissioner Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Toller?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes. Approval of tourism grant application, Shawnee Hills Wine Trail. This looks as if they've met all the criteria from the past grants. I think last year they requested more money than what they are at this time, and the tourism board approved this. It's my understanding that they're going at it in 2 hitches, is that right?
Yes.
So they'll probably be coming back for some more money later in the year. Anybody got any questions about this or concerns? The amount they requested is $6,700. Tourism board approved that amount. first part of the request, and they'll return with another request. Is it on here how much we gave them last year?
12,000.
Yeah. A second request the tourism board had, approval of tourism grant application, Shiny Hills Wine Trail Lodging Association. Again, these are pretty much annual requests from these two organizations, which both of them do a lot of work for the county as far as tourism, overnight stays, and advertising mainly. They had requested last time $8,000, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, I think they must have got their heads together. They were requesting $2,200, which the board approved. And we'll be submitting another request later. But again, looking at the application and the reports, they have met all the standards that we put out there in order to use this money that we've made available. Any questions? Concerns? Get a motion to approve this? I'll second.
Mr. Pitts,
Yes.
Mr. Toller,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes. Next on the agenda, approval of resolution for sale of delinquent property held by the county trustee. This is pretty much housekeeping work this time of year. It's just one piece of property, I believe, is that correct?
Yes.
Any questions? Concerns? I'll make a motion to approve this resolution for sale of delinquent property by the county trustee.
Mr. Pitts,
Yes.
Mr. Toller,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes. Moving on, next on the agenda, Union County Ambulance Service new fee schedule. If I understand this right, Grant, this is basically, I call it housekeeping, new fee schedule because of Medicare fee changes. And this
Yes,
type
the
of
last
thing.
change was in 2015, so there's just some additions and updates.
Anybody have any questions for Grant on this? Looking at this, I mean, it's, again, I think pretty self-explanatory. We set our fees higher than what Medicare actually will pay. Is that correct?
Yeah, Jamie can explain that well, but there's a write-off that happens with the
Right.
automatic.
Yeah, so we try to stay just slightly above, that way we don't lose any money. So if we don't raise, we're only raising the mileage in one rate, everything else is still fine. The mileage, if we don't change it, we'll actually lose 43 cents per mile if we don't change it. So we're just raising it slightly above that, just so we're kind of in line and, not losing any money per payment that we get from them. And that was with the other rate, we were doing the same thing, we would have lost I don't know, I think it was $30 or $40 per rate per call if we didn't change it, so we just raised that. Everything else was in line and fine.
Okay. Good. I'll make a motion that we approve the new fee schedule for Union County Ambulance Service.
Second.
Mr. Pitts?
Yes.
Mr. Toller?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes. Next on the agenda, collective bargaining agreement with the Highway Department, operating engineers, local 318. As said last meeting, we have a tentative agreement. The final written form for the contract is not completed. Just needs a little bit more time, and then we will on the agenda. Just a matter of going through the motions, but there's no problem with it, it's just not finished. Next on the agenda, resolution to transfer 2019 budget appropriations. This is basically just, moving money around, long story short, as we discussed in the past, mainly due to some overage in some areas on this past year's budget, mainly jail bill.
Yes, this is another round of taking money out of almost everyone's budget that had any extra to move it to our jail bill, which was also very high this past month.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing on this budget amendment is that when we did our fiscal year 2019 budget, we were unaware that we were going to get the school grant that she talked about earlier. So because of that, we have to basically amend the budget to put the revenue that we received and the expenses that we paid out. And then in next year's budget, it's already in there, so it won't be part of an amendment. So.
But again, I wish things like this didn't have to happen, but on the other hand, I'm very pleased that we're able to do this. I think that says a lot for the county itself and the way Andy takes care of the budget and so forth. I mean, it's just a blessing that we can do this. So I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to transfer 2019 budget appropriations.
Mr. Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Toller?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes. Speaking of budget, next on the agenda, combined annual budget and appropriations ordinance for the fiscal year commencing on December 1, 2019, ending on November 30th, 2020. We approved the tentative budget. It's been posted for the official time that it has to be. Long and short, we're looking at, without breaking it down, from general fund to highway general to you name it, child support administration fund, sheriff's donation. There's many lines, but we're looking at a $36,235,000 budget. It's been posted. Again, as I did when we tentatively approved this, I want to say thank you again to all the office holders, the department heads, Angie, getting this done in a timely fashion. A lot of work going into it. I appreciate everybody's support on it and working with the commissioners. And it's a balanced budget, as we have to do. And not everybody got every single thing they wanted, but I think we pretty well made everybody feel relatively good about everything. There's some things, that we're counting on to happen in the coming year and so forth that goes into this budget. So But again, I just want to take time to thank everyone and appreciate their efforts. Anybody have any questions about the budget and appropriations ordinance commencing on December 1st, 2019, ending on November 30th, 2020?
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Toller,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes. Last item on the agenda, resolution establishing cannabis, drug, and alcohol use policy. Obviously, with the new law going into effect here in a couple of weeks, Angela worked this together, which we needed to have anyway. I appreciate your efforts and everybody that contributed to this, putting this together. There's certain guidelines that we have to go by in certain departments that doesn't necessarily entertain other departments, but everybody had a chance to look at this and understand it. Guess the bottom line is you don't want to get caught. But this applies to all departments, all employees, new employees, people that are being interviewed at the time now. It's very well written, very well done. Appreciate it. I'll make
I just do want to make note that,
Sure.
that this is going out to the unions as well,
Right.
so that they have an opportunity for the day as well.
Make a motion, we approve the resolution establishing cannabis, drug, and alcohol use policy for Eden County.
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Toller,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes. It may get interesting in the coming year on that, so, to say the least. Don't think we have anything for executive session?
Nope.
Any other business?
No.
Again, that was a lot of stuff in a short period of time, especially the budget. Appreciate it, again, everybody's hard work and getting all this done, so. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Toller,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Now, everybody can head for here, so.
Yes, you did. You said yes? You say yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I-